All right, let me show you how to set up a highly capital efficient cold acquisition funnel for your business so you don't need to rely on lead gen agencies or Facebook ad agencies in order to fill your pipeline and get the clients that you want. So this system can reach over 10,000 highly targeted prospects every month for under $500 per month. And I'm going to give you all the resources you need to set this up and walk you through the entire process. So if you want to do it yourself, you can, and if you want help from me, you'll also be able to, you'll have that option as well. So we're going to start with reach, talking about response, and conversion. Those are the three main pillars of this system, and here's how we achieve our targets in every single one of those. So the first thing is sending capacity, as everything is going to be a function or a subset of your sending capacity, right? If you can send to 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, that affects everything that's downstream of that. My recommendation is to have a setup that lets you reach at least 10,000 leads per month, because that is going to give you the critical mass that makes it really hard to fail, right? If you're sending 100 emails a month or 1,000, that's going to be really difficult unless you already have an offer that's working incredibly well, you have a crazy amount of proof, an absolute world beater guarantee, and other things going for you, such as being the only solution in your marketplace. You're simply going to need more volume. And even if you have all things going for you, why not have that volume? So you can even, in this doc, you can go File, make a copy, and play around with these numbers to see how much reach you're going to get. If you are an agency or a B2B service provider or SaaS business, I tend to start with about 60 accounts, and you can scale up from there. Sometimes I'll start with 120, and for freelancers or solo service providers, 30 is typically enough as a starting point. And you can see here what the hard cost using Google and Outlook accounts would be. It'll calculate that for you. And if you use my setup, then you'll save over 50%. But either way, if you want to set things up yourself, all the SOPs are here for you to do that. This is for using Outlook, so you can just as easily do it with Google. And I even have the tech set up for SmartLead. If you use Instantly, you'll have to find their SOPs. It's a very similar process, but once you have these email accounts set up, integrating them into your sending software is going to be important. And you can go to this link if you want to skip the setup, have that done for you, and just pay the discounted rate for your email accounts. Regardless, once you have your sending capacity dialed in, you're going to want a contact list, and you're going to want enough contacts that you can actually use 100% of that sending capacity, right? So for that, you're going to need your audience targeting parameters to dial those in. Then you can go out and build your list, and I have a video walkthrough here. It's about 7 minutes long that you can use to get contacts for under 1 cent a piece. The particular walkthrough will show you how I got a list of just under 26,000 contacts. It cost $143 or thereabouts to get the list, and you can actually do better than that using this system. But you're going to want to build the list, you're going to want to clean the list. There's a walkthrough you can use here. And once you've done that, then you also have another nice reach multiplier, is to use very low dollar retargeting ads. You do not have to do this. This is not an obligatory thing. If you think, geez, setting up cold email is hard enough, I don't want to have to advertise as well, you do not have to advertise for this system to work. In fact, most of the clients I work with do not have the advertising piece installed. They just do the cold email. For a lot of what I do, I just do the cold email. But I'll give you an example. You could, one thing that makes sense to do is, because when you send a cold email and you're a stranger in someone's inbox, they are probably going to look you up, right? You have to assume they are. Not everyone will, but you have to assume that they're going to Google your name. Well, what if you set up a low dollar ad or just retargeting ad just for the people on this contact list? So when they Google you, you come up in the first place. If you're not a famous name, I'm not a particularly famous name, that is extremely inexpensive. You can get the clicks for just a couple cents a piece, and then you can also pixel them on your website. It's another touch point, etc. And even if you're a bigger name, this is probably something you want to do anyway, compete for your name in the first place in Google. So that's something that, because It's low volume, it's extremely specific, you don't have to put a lot of money behind that, and the ROI is outstanding. So that's something that you can do. And of course, you can do that on multiple platforms. I'm not going to dive into that here. We can get way down in the weeds, but suffice to say that this is again, if you want to use your capital efficiently, this retargeting only people on your contact list, wherever you choose to do it, is going to achieve that for you. So moving on to response, we have two main places that we're looking here. We're looking at open rates and we're looking at your positive reply rates for the actual emails that you send out. So open rates, most people know that deliverability matters and that their subject line matters, but if you test tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of emails, what you'll notice is that the from line and the preview text of the emails also make a big difference. For example, I don't know why this is the case, but I have multiple campaigns for myself that have over a 90% open rate, but when I've emailed the exact same list using similar subject lines, maybe not perfectly the same, so it's not a perfect scientific test, but emailing that same list from different people with different offers, the typical open rate is between 40 and 60%. Is that completely because of the from line? Almost certainly not. There are too many factors at play, and I'm not going to run a perfectly scientific test around this, but it's, I think, intuitive to us that names do have a meaning, they do make a first impression. So the from line can make a difference, and you might actually want to test that. A male name versus a female name, right? It's just a sort of obvious thing that you might test. As well as, like, you can come up with an assistant name, even if you don't have one, and test this. Might not be the first thing that you do, but this does, all of these things make an impact. That's the point that I want to make. So by setting up the accounts properly, you should have most of your deliverability handled and cleaning the list using the processes here. You should not have deliverability problems, and that's assuming that going down into when you script your emails, you're also not getting flagged for spam, but you're in control of that. So that should leave you with somewhere around a 50% open rate is what I typically go for. Obviously, this depends on who you're targeting. If you're targeting Fortune 500 CEOs, you could expect that to be lower, right? If you're targeting, I don't know, solo coaches who don't have a team, maybe it's higher. People who have more time than money, right? They're more likely to open an email. So about 50% is a basic benchmark that I'm aiming for. Now, your positive response rate is really going to come down to how strong your offer is and how well you express that offer through your email scripting. So I have two resources that you can use to come up with your offer. There are a couple of different links here. A spreadsheet that I use to break down my service into its component parts and extract interesting outcomes and promises that I can make to my audience. And there's a video walkthrough that'll show you how exactly to do all of that in order to come up with 5-star offers that maximize your chance of a positive response. And then the other thing that you'll want to explore are these 7 different cold email angles that demand a response, and that will help you script emails that do everything they can to get someone interested and raising their hand. So some results that you can expect are, if you truly have a 5-star offer, then you should be able to get one meeting every 300 to 1,000 contacts. And again, this will vary depend on who exactly you're going after. You might be able to do it in a fewer number of contacts. In certain ultra-competitive industries, it might be a little bit higher than that, right? There are so many factors at play. I can't tell you for your business it's exactly going to be this. But what I can give you are these ranges, so then when you see the data come back to you, and you see that, oh, you're in this range right now, that must mean that, assuming you're targeting the right people, that your offer isn't as strong as it needs to be given the competitive landscape. And that will give you clues as to what you can adjust in order to increase your response rate. So if you do have a sort of middle of the road 3-star offer, it's decent. It probably works really well to warm traffic, but you haven't been able to make it work to cold maybe, and then you're probably going to be in this range. Every 1,000 to 3,000 contacts. For some hyper-competitive industries, it might be a little bit more than that, of course. And hopefully you don't have a one-star offer, but if you're launching something new and you don't know what the market is going to respond to, you might start in this range where stuff just isn't working. But at least you will know that you have room for improvement, right? If you're just not getting meetings and you're going through tons of contacts, the great thing about this is it costs so little to get set up. This is still a very low-risk test to run. And you don't have to run through 10,000 contacts in order to know that something's not working, right? I recommend 3,000 contacts for testing and validation. If you're not getting traction, you probably want to change something. But the point is that if you don't fix your offer, if you're in that sort of case, then then this is probably what you'll see. My hope is that by following these, like if you do the offer architecture exercise and you use this resource, I think you will have to work not to at least be in the 3-star offer range. And if you're experienced and you have results to lean on and you know what you're doing, then I'm hoping that you have a 4 or a 5-star offer pretty much right out of the gate. So use these resources to get yourself as close to that 5-star offer range as you can, and then monitor your results to constantly be improving. So that's what we can do to maximize response. Now, ultimately, we want sales, we want conversions, we want revenue. So here's where the rubber meets the road. Eventually, people are going to positively respond, right? But you need to turn those responses into bookings, or it's sort of an exercise in vanity metrics and ultimately futility, right? So I have a document here that you can use to turn the most common responses into calls, including what does it cost, right? And a couple of other common responses that you'll have to deal with over and over and over again. And I have a resource to help you automate follow-up using subsequences. You can use this. This is built for SmartLead, but the same principles apply in Instantly, and I'm sure for other providers as well. So I consider response handling to be the initial response, and follow-up is everything that happens after that. Though sometimes I do have campaigns where really things start here, and the whole follow-up sequence is automated. So it can overlap. But in terms of handling that first response, you can use this document to get yourself started. Now, you are also going to want to have a landing page because, again, people are going to look you up. And more than that, when people do look you up, if you have a landing page, I have found that this particular landing page that you can check out for yourself, as an example, it's a landing page plus a short VSL. If you want to model the VSL, you're more than welcome to. It's not critical to get started, though I would recommend having some sort of video. Maybe a video like this one, screen share, a screen share of your process. Now, I'm not, as you can probably tell, I'm not hammering you in the head with marketing and making huge, wild promises, right? It could be just a VSL of your process. But this page would get about 30% of my bookings from this page came without me having to respond to any cold emails. People would get the cold email, they'd look me up, and they would book directly on this page. That is a big time saver, especially if you don't have automated follow-up sequences in place. So you absolutely need to have one of these for multiple reasons, just so people can find you and see that you're a real person, a real business, a real operation, and also because a decent number of people. Now, I don't expect you'll get 30% necessarily. I'm a copywriter and I do a pretty decent job of building these sorts of pages. You might get 5% or 10%, but whatever that percentage is, that's something where the booking comes in automatically and you don't have to have any time or resources devoted to the back and forth booking process. So it's a win no matter how you look at it. The other thing, of course, is setting up your calendar. So setting up the calendar event properly, qualifying questions. I've given examples here. So you can get people on the call who are both as qualified as necessary to have the conversation. If you're in the validation stage, you want to qualify less hard. If you are scaling things and you have less bandwidth for calls, then you want to qualify a little bit harder. But this document will help you get that in place. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is when people look you up, what does your LinkedIn profile look like? Your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube, whatever platforms you're using that you will appear on, are your profiles congruent with the thing that you emailed about? That's really what we're looking for here. So making sure that online presence, it's there, so you at least have your LinkedIn, because that's what people will often look for specifically. But essentially, answer the question for yourself. When people look you up, what do they find? They don't have to find you in Forbes, but they have to find enough to see you're a real person or a real organization, and that it's whatever you're talking about in the emails is in line with the things that they find online, right? No red flags go up. Next, we can talk about show up rate. So this is part of the calendar setup, really. But you can use this doc to copy my 80% show up reminder sequence. It's a combination of email and SMS that goes out. This is for Calendly, but you can just as easily adopt it for Go High Level or whatever system you use. Then, of course, we have your close rate, which if you're used to closing warm traffic or referrals at like 90%, that's probably not what's going to happen here. A lot of people struggle going from warm traffic sales to cold traffic sales because they feel like their cold traffic sales process isn't working. And then they say, oh, my leads are garbage. When really what you should expect from cold traffic sales calls, unless you're a sales gangster and you're just, that's the thing that you do really well, look at a 1 in 6, 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 4 close rate to be what you're looking for. Now, obviously this, again, depends on who exactly you're selling it to, the price point, and a lot of other things. Yours might be higher, it might be lower, and that might be fine for what you're looking to do. But don't try to compare your cold email, cold traffic close rate to whatever you've been doing with referrals and with your warm audience through email or social media or wherever those are coming from. If you strive to match it, absolutely, but expect that you will have a lower conversion rate, at least at first, as you're getting used to selling to completely cold traffic. So there's the sales aspect of that, and then there's, after you get the verbal agreement, all of the mechanics of contracts and closing. And I will leave that piece of it up to you, because my job is to get people on the phone with you. You have to do the closing part. But if you can do that, then I expect that you'll be really happy. And if you set up this infrastructure, then again, if you're reaching 10,000 plus highly targeted prospects, you're doing that month after month, and you're reaching them on autopilot. I mean, yes, you have to refresh lists. Yes, you'll probably want to test new campaigns and new offers and all of that. But I have campaigns that have been running for 3 months and 4 months and longer, where I've done nothing but pour new leads in the top, which takes me at this point 10 to 15 minutes, and I haven't touched them, and they're still producing inquiries and leads and bookings. That's what I want for you, and that's what this system can help you achieve. So if you want help setting this up, I mean, first of all, you're more than welcome to just grab these resources and have at it. By all means, go do that. If you'd like help setting that up, then you can go to this link here. There'll be a link above, below, or beside this video as well. You can go to this link. You can book a time to talk. You can tell me about your situation and your business and what you're looking to do, and maybe I will be able to help you set this up. In any case, I hope this was valuable. I wish you the best of luck getting your own cold acquisition funnel set up, so you don't have to rely and you don't have to overpay for leads from agencies of any kind. And I'll leave it at that. If you want, hit that link and let's see if I can help you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day and good luck setting this up.